So I'm starting a series where I review interesting books that I read, books at least interesting to me, and look forward to engaging in discussions in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. I just look forward to hearing from everybody. And the first book in the series that I'm going to be reviewing is Resting in God's Sovereignty by Ernest Easley, and it's a 30-day devotional on God's plan for His people that I found at Half Price Books. And I plan on continuing to use half-price books for future books I do in the series. Now, this particular book was a 30-day devotional, as I mentioned, so I'm going to treat it as such and divide it into 30 days. And starting with my notes that I took for day one, a quote that I found interesting was by Adrian Rogers, and the quote is, "A faith that hasn't been tested can't be trusted." And you apply this to everyday things, like things that are common knowledge are still things that can be tested. Like gravity, for example. You throw something in the air, it's going to come back down. That's something that can be tested, and it's something that obviously we trust. And faith is something that is tested every day. So the ability to test things it gives you the ability to believe in things or trust things. And the next concept that is key in my notes is the concept of incompatibility. That is very key in the job I do, actually, which is I work as a registered behavior technician in the field of ABA. When we're dealing with clients and they're engaging in behaviors that we want to reduce, for example, physical aggression, we will often present them or prompt them to engage in a behavior that is incompatible with the physical aggression. So if your client is hitting at you, you might prompt them to clap their hands. Clapping their hands is an action that is incompatible with physical aggression. Now, I wrote down in my notes that free will and divine sovereignty are not incompatible. This means that the events of this world and us having free will in this world does not disprove divine sovereignty. Us having free will does not disprove the existence of God. God can exist and we can still have free will. Actually, if you read the Bible, free will is a key component in who God is. God gives us the choice whether to believe in Him, whether to follow Him, or whether to follow the rules. Obviously, the concept of heaven and hell, we have the choice of where we're going to end up. We have the choice to follow the Ten Commandments. And really, in everyday life, that's how the law operates when you think about it. We have free will when it comes to the law. We can choose to break the law or follow the law. And that free will that we have to follow or break the law, the police are there whether we follow or break the law or not. So, us choosing to break the law or not doesn't just prove that the police aren't there. And God operates the same way. He's making sure we're following the commandments, much in the same way that the police are enforcing that we're following the laws here on earth. So free will and divine sovereignty are not incompatible. I wouldn't call the police divine sovereignty, but the police are the enforcers of the rules. So you can have free will and rules and commandments still be present. Another key concept that I wrote down is about contentment. Contentment is something that is learned. It's an inside process. It's not outside. We don't become content because of outside forces. Outside forces might contribute somewhat to contentment, but it's still something that happens internally. Now, the concept of learning is related to how you can become content. You cannot learn if you are consumed by pride. You must be teachable. You cannot possess all knowledge. Your pride will block your access to further knowledge. Pride is very dangerous, and we should try to always remain teachable with an open mind. They say the brain is a muscle, and like any other muscle in your body, if you don't use it, it's not going to become any stronger. So, pride is actually, as far as religion goes, pride is one of the deadly sins. Pride is something that distances us from God. And even if you're somebody that does not believe in God, pride is something that will block your access to growing. It will block your access to further knowledge. If you're a know-it-all and you believe that you possess all knowledge, your drive to seek any further knowledge will be blocked. You're not going to seek more knowledge if you already feel you have it all. And let's face it, there's more and more knowledge that comes out every day, as even history is something that it makes more knowledge. So there's more things to learn every day. Every day is a learning process. And if you don't have a desire to learn, there's really no point in being here. Nobody possesses all knowledge. Nobody knows everything. There's simply too much in the world for one person to have all the knowledge. And that's why pride is just so dangerous in terms of whether you're religious or not. Pride just cuts you off from enjoying life. It might feel good for a little bit to be prideful, but in the end, like I said, your brain is a muscle. You become content and you just don't have a drive to grow. You don't have a drive to gain more knowledge. We should always try to be teachable. We should always be open to learning new things. And we should just always be open to seeking out that knowledge, kind of how God gives us free will to seek out Him and seek out, further knowledge. So, this is my day one reflection. I didn't rehearse it because I wanted it to be a reflection of my true feelings and how I felt about the reading. So if it seemed disorganized, I apologize, but I just wanted it to be as sincere as possible. And I really appreciate your time in listening to this day one devotional reading. Please like, comment, subscribe. And once again, I thank you for your time and listening. And I really hope you enjoy this content. And as I mentioned, I'm going to divide this into 30 days as is intended to be. So yeah, have a great day, and thank you for your time.